Hello and welcome to this channel. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to be talking about transhumanism, and this being a distortion of human evolution. This is the way that I see it. I'm going to go into some depth to explain this. So first of all, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, transhumanism is both a philosophical and a scientific movement. It's one that advocates the use of current and emerging technologies like genetic engineering, cryonics, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. And it does this in order to augment and facilitate human capabilities and improve the human condition. So, self-improvement and I would say also self-actualization is what humanity is all about. This is the ideal, and the goal is a noble one. So in a way, transhumanism, at least on the surface, appears to have a positive goal. I think, again, it's a noble idea to want to improve the human condition. But transhumanism itself and the methods that it utilizes are not really true improvement, and I'm going to explain why I see it that way. So the idea and wish to improve the human condition is positive, but the use of engineering and technologies like AI to do this is a distortion. The belief that humans can evolve beyond their current physical and mental limitations, our wish to do that, to evolve, is also positive, and I believe this is very, very possible. So the concept of that type of improvement, it's coming from a good place, that is true, but the use of tech and genetic engineering to implement this is not so positive. So I just want to point to some philosophy here, and I believe it was Plato that said that we should be weary of power that isn't earned. So whilst his reference is a different one and in a different context, I feel that the general concept, it really applies here with transhumanism, because as humans we could be trying to grasp at power and an empowerment that actually using genetic engineering and technology isn't earned. And I would also ask, are we playing God with all of this? Modifying or the goal or attempt to modify and augment the human body and the human brain and things of this kind, there is a sense of, is this ethical, and are we playing God, and are we bringing power into our sphere that is not truly earned? Now, I do believe that we do have a tremendous amount of power. I think we're so much more than is actually than we believe. We're more than we're seeing actualized. But the question is one of method and pathway, and also philosophy. Is this the right philosophy, or perhaps do we need to seek that empowerment and that actualization and evolving in a different way? So genetic modification, for example, is where you edit the DNA, the genetic material. Could be RNA, can also be used, but you basically make a modification to the genetic material, and when that's done, now we know that this can be done successfully, but other systems in the cell and in the body of humans can be affected. The system, the cellular system, is so finely tuned, much more than people realise. So when you alter the genetics, it does cause a disruption. When you're not the designer, regardless of whether you believe that this is through a higher power or evolution. But regardless, when you're not the designer, regardless of how advanced your abilities are, you don't fully understand the design. And, there could be lack of stability of any changes that are made over generations. Any permanent changes, to human genetics could destabilize human genetics and the body as well over generations, and the outcome can be very painful and destructive. It's one thing to heal an individual with a disease gene that causes issue or unwellness in the body in an organ. It could even affect many systems in the body. It's one thing to heal that individual via a gene therapy, but this isn't quite the same as writing something new in, let's say, that is not encoded. Examples would be to extend longevity and introduce something new systems. And yes, it's possible to do this, but at a cost. And also adding functionality, and that could ultimately lead to dysfunction and failure. And I think that transhumanism, the philosophy itself, seeks to make these types of changes. Any kind of seeking to change the gametes, to change the genetics of offspring, this could lead to tremendous dysfunction and disease and death, actually. Now, to talk a little bit about technological augmentation. So, for example, the use of mechanical technologies to replace lost limbs or help with loss of function of organs. An example would be loss of hearing and things of this nature. So, this is certainly, possible to do, and it can have a really positive impact, on the lives of individuals. But I would say the use of AI to improve the human condition and the idea of obtaining information or augmentation, let's say, of brain, or a kind of interface of the brain with computer technology and AI, this is where it could be a slippery slope, especially anything that is implanted. Even things that are not implanted, though, can be quite destructive. Technology that allows us to upgrade, I say this in inverted commas, ourselves in terms of physical athleticism, intelligence, increasing longevity and things of this kind. It's one thing to have treatment for loss of function or disability or disease, and quite another thing to augment an existing healthy human being. There are so many ethical considerations, and the boundaries need to be really carefully considered. In particular, the idea of interfacing AI with a human brain can disrupt the brain and could cause damage in the long run. It can also interfere with human thinking in ways that we don't really know, ways that are not predictable. The mind can be really adversely affected as a result of this. So, to talk a little bit about human evolution, this is a positive idea to evolve, to make ourselves better. In this sense, the expansion, I feel that really true human evolution is the expansion of spirit. It's a deepening of our moral compass, a development of higher level intellect and other abilities too, such as being able to heal the body with the mind. I'm going to talk in terms of ascension, something that is spiritual, increasing our energy, making changes to ourselves to our consciousness, to our awareness. And this is a time, the time that we live in now, it's a time of great change. And it's possible to embed in the human spirit something that is very great. And I think people are kind of aware that there is this potential for change. But when it comes to, transhumanism and the methods and the way that this would be facilitated, it's here that I feel there's a distortion. It's not the goal itself, it's more the means. And I think this comes from, if the focus is purely on the material and the mechanistic, the physical, when the focus is on this kind of mechanistic physical body, and the philosophy is that the material body is no different than a machine, and the mental focus, in a way, is more on the brain rather than the mind. This kind of very physical, mechanistic approach, I feel like the approach is in error, in my humble opinion. There is another way. I really want to thank you for joining and for listening, and please come back again.